of answering questions.
Okay, let me interject
Because
one thing real quick. When has the last time, I don't care, shitty presidents, Carter, you name it, who cares? That people, I've never, even Johnson in the dark days of I've never heard of the majority of people questioning a president's ability to function. Have you ever? Maybe I missed
no,
something, Dr. Lopkin.
no, that's actually never happened before. There were people that were questioning Reagan's competency in the last years of his
True,
presidency,
though.
but it never got to the point where it was a majority of people.
Yeah, I mean, Reagan towards the end was diminished,
Yes.
had diminished mental capacity, but it was already on auto. He already accomplished what he had to accomplish. Plus, he was surrounded by extremely talented people. That's not the case with Mr. Joe Biden.
No, Biden is surrounded by the same people that ran the Obama
Oh, God.
administration, to the point that, I don't know if you caught this, in an interview, Jen Psaki accidentally mentioned how much she liked working with President Biden.
No. The whole
It was-
the whole thing. Look, again, I've been around the block. I've never seen anything like this. When they had and it was a photo op, or he even knows, maybe he's so demented that he just wanted, Joey just wanted to get a little ice cream cone. It's like working in a nursing home. Okay, Johnny. Yes, we'll wheel you out and you'll get a nice little bacon and egg breakfast. Yeah, I mean, the world is blowing up, and someone gave him the money to pay the clerk. You can just tell. God, it's like a bad movie. That's scary because miscalculations with the Ukraine and Russia could be everything. I mean, even the Ukraine said this crisis has been exasperated by Biden.
yes. Well,
It's very, very, very scary.
Biden is fiddling while Rome burns. Everything he's touched has become a disaster. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I mean, again, remember the quote. Biden has been on the wrong side of every foreign policy decision for 50 years. Robert Gates said that. Why should we expect anything different? He's proving Gates's point.
And he's also proving something we talked about, Dr. Lopkin, back in terrestrial days. And I believe it was Chris Calandra who said, he meets, being a business person, meets more competent people in 5 minutes than you could in 5 days in government. And it just, Biden, has he ever worked a day? No, he's been in Congress, in the Senate. He's he has nothing to, he's incompetent. He's a moron. He's never had to prove himself. He's floating around. He's a failed, 3 attempts at the presidency. It's only because of everyone hated Donald Trump and there was an open field in the Democratic Party because no one thought that Trump would, or the coronavirus would happen, that he actually even emerged. And also, it was also the Democratic Party being scared shitless that Bernie would be the nominee. That's why Elizabeth Warren dropped out.
If you look at these policies, Bernie is the president.
Exactly.
I mean, I know Biden in his press conference said he's not Bernie Sanders, but if you take a look at what he's tried to ram through, yeah. I mean, Build Back Better was written by Bernie Sanders. So the idea
yes, and you know what's really funny, Lopkin? It's so funny, but it's sad that today Biden, Rome is burning. Build Back Better has the chance of succeeding like I have to go to the moon. And he's doing a speech trying to get support from corporate America about it's like, I think you just send him out just to get him away from the White House. Just do a speech. Speech about Build Back Better.
I don't think it was their idea to let him go do speeches. During the press conference, he said he was going to get back out there and meet with the people and be very public. And I can guarantee you anybody that followed the Virginia gubernatorial election was going, no, keep him away from people.
Oh yeah, well even in Georgia, what's her name? I forgot.
It's Stacey
Stacey Abrams
Abrams.
running, yes, and oh yeah, okay. I'm sorry to say, if the president called me, I wouldn't say, like, I really can't make it, Mr. President. I have to change I have an oil change at Jiffy Lube. I know, I
Right.
don't think that's going to happen. It was bullshit. She knows, and then they weren't going to ruffle any feathers that I can't go there because it's going to cost me my election, my electoral bid.
Yeah. Democrats are fleeing Biden in record numbers. You have voters leaving the party, you have politicians backing away from him. And one comment that absolutely floored me, there was a Democratic strategist who said the problem with the Democratic Party isn't that we have bad leaders, it's that we have bad followers. They're
Yeah, that's
blaming
McGowan.
Yeah, they're blaming the voters for
Well,
this. It's like,
they have a history of not taking responsibility. And speaking about being irresponsible, we have Kamala, our esteemed vice president, and Rome is burning because of their actions. We're basically a second away from a confrontation with Russia and Putin. And Kamala gave a speech that the focus of the administration. This is not a joke. The focus of the administration is the most vulnerable. And she went on to say that and articulate, and that is minorities, of course, it's minorities, LBGQ, whatever, and migrants. Okay, can we smoke some more pot, please? No, seriously, I need another hit.
no,
Are
no,
you
no.
kidding me?
She's right. The Democratic Party's focus is on its most vulnerable because we have the mental deterioration of Biden and Harris, and they've been the focus. They're
I love
trying
that.
to
That's true. They're
it's
part of the group now, aren't they?
they are the most vulnerable is Biden and Harris.
Good. And we'll conclude with the explosion on crime. And being someone that experienced the 70s and the 90s in New York with Mayor Dinkins, crime, the liberal media can, shortchange it, but crime hits African Americans, hits Hispanics, and hits everyone. And that's something you can't, and it hits someone very, very, very powerfully. Everyone gets affected, and you can't walk away from that. And it's Maslow's hierarchy. Safety needs are at the bottom. In other words, any society that can't fulfill that and protect that ceases to be a society. And I think that's beyond and there's and there's more coming, and Biden's screw-ups and Harris's screw-ups. But I think crime is a thing that's going to resonate more than crime, and inflation is going to resonate more than any other. Your thoughts, Dr.
Well,
Lopkin?
virtually every poll has said that crime and inflation are the two major concerns for all voters across parties, independents, everybody. What has happened now is absolutely inexcusable. You have murderers who are getting out on bail. We had just this weekend across the country 3 more cops killed. We've had over the course of January, it's amazing how many police officers are being killed. It's open season, and the prosecutors are not doing anything because they're for bail reform. They want to let everybody out. You had a city councilwoman in New York City talking about how the police were created to keep slaves in line and they need to be abolished. Okay, seriously? Let's start by abolishing all police activity in a 2 block radius around her house.
Okay, very interesting, though. I agree with that. And the really it's sad. It's interesting, sad, pathetic. It shows you how people like Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic uh, progressive elite are so out of touch with their even constituency. Hardworking African Americans primarily, and Hispanics as well, they're the ones who want more police. They don't want less. And in fact, it affects everything. I was going to go on a weekend trip to Philly, which a place that I lived for several years, went to grad school at. And I'm thinking, do I really want to go? I mean, it's freaking dangerous. Are you kidding me? It's like, yeah, let's go to Vietnam for the weekend. So it affects everyone, is my
It
point.
has become absolutely ridiculous. And you're starting to see, I mean, first of all, people don't feel safe. But now that increase in crime is also affecting local economies because businesses don't want to bring their workers into these areas because they're afraid they can't keep them safe. Retailers are pulling out of areas. You've had a number of retail stores in California just close up shop because of the constant shoplifting and robberies that their DAs won't even prosecute. So it affects the entire area. And it amazed me. The new Manhattan DA, put forth his plan that this is how he's going to fight crime. And it was by not prosecuting misdemeanors, by changing some felonies to misdemeanors. And it is exactly the opposite of what was done under the Giuliani administration. And that administration took a high crime city and turned it around.
It turned into one of the lowest crime cities in the world. I mean, for major cities. In the world. Not just America, in the world.
Right. We know what to do. We know how to stop this problem. And the progressives are trying to do exactly the opposite.
Okay, but some of the root of this is George Soros, an enemy of America and an enemy of Western ideology. How is this cockroach allowed to function? What the F is going on?
No, it's absolutely amazing. He's the one that has funded the campaigns for these progressive DAs. And you know what? He's another one. Let's just remove all police action from the area around his home.
Yeah, it's the same thing we talked about. George Soros, if you see him in any pictures, he's at at an event, a speaking event. You know, they're eating sushi. He never has to endure what, let's say, inner city people have to endure because of his effing policy. He's a disgusting pig. He's always been, and I'm surprised there hasn't been more light shown on this cockroach. And then he might be crawling into some wormhole, hopefully. But it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
Go ahead.
It's never going to happen. And I think there's a problem with Soros that goes even beyond, because I just saw a number of investigations, and it looks like it's not just Soros. He's basically stepped away and he's put a whole machine in place that's just doing all of this automatically without him now.
I figured that because he knows, because he's a very old man, and unfortunately he needs to continue his perverted legacy. Yep. But Dr. Lopkin, it was a great show. And you know something? We don't do this for fame and fortune. We do it for the children, don't we? I'm just doing this for the children. Yes. I don't care about, ever being discovered.
Somebody think of the children.
Every time, when we do research for the show, both of us, it's all about the children.
Right.
Well, Dr. Lopkin, great show. And our listeners, we can be heard almost everywhere, can't we, Dr. Lopkin? And we got a good new feature on the Exvadio website, don't we?
Yeah. If there's something you actually want us to look into or have a comment on one of our podcasts, you can reach us at exvadio.com/connect. You can find the podcast every week on the Carnivore Radio website, as well as the xvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast app, Google Podcasts, Spotify,